Hi everyone, it's Mark Morley here, the anxiety expert at Newcastle Hypnotherapy. And today I'm really pleased. We've got a lovely lad called Ross has agreed to give us some insight into what he's gone through for the Anxiety Freedom Program, just to help other people out there, because I know a lot of people sit on the fence, not sure if it's going to work for them, and just like to hear what real people say. So first of all, hi Ross.
Hi, Mark.
And just confirm you're not an actor, are you?
No, I'm definitely terrible. Anyone who's seen me at school pantomimes will know I am not an actor in any way.
So first of all, first question is, what was it that made you decide to work with me?
Um, I had a lot. I've always had trouble with sort of anxiety and stress, but lockdown had really kind of built it up for me. And it was getting to a point where I tried sort of the NHS services, and their their suggestions didn't really fit with me. I didn't see them having any success. I'd also developed some oral thrush, which I believed wasn't being treated very well by the NHS either. So I was just looking for stuff, and I put like I'd heard about hypnotherapy, and I just googled, and I saw you online, and I saw um, your website. I had a look. I saw that you dealt with both, and I saw that there was a free consultation. So I thought, let's give it a try. And as soon as we had that initial call, I was like, yes, I'd like to use this man's services.
Good, good. So really, you had a lot going on at that time. There
Yes.
was, as you mentioned, the oral thrush, there was anxiety, there was all sorts of daft things coming into your head.
Yeah.
How was that really making you feel at the time?
It was a mixture of just anger, frustration, um, just sort of depressed. I mean, I'd like to think I'm naturally quite a positive person, but I just found sort of once the two had combined, it was just really, really difficult for me. Like I'd have real mood swings in terms of um, even a positive would just be like getting through the day. The negatives were just I just get really frustrated at the situation, and just sort of like break down. And that's the last thing. And I thought it was having a negative effect on loved ones. So it got to the point where I was really sort of desperate to get some kind of resolution.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned briefly that you've been through some NHS treatment. What sort of things had you tried previously to put this right, and how long had you been trying?
I mean, they gave me some sort of quite basic techniques like breathing techniques, but then just things like they wanted me to write. So techniques they suggested were to sort of write things down whenever I had negative thoughts, or to kind of go into detail, and then to sort of just almost try and create an image in my head, which was to try and dispel the negativity. But it was written down. There was no talking through it. It was very basic, and it was sort of almost. I found it almost slightly patronizing compared to, especially when we got to work together, and the techniques you used. It was like, well, I'm an adult. This was almost just like, don't worry about it. Have a look at this and see what you think. And this is, try not to think about the nasty thoughts, and you'll be fine. And I was just like, this is not doing it for me. And so I just sort of discharged myself. I tried that for a few months. I had a couple of calls. Obviously, we were still in the sort of non-contact phase of lockdown then, so it was all phone based. But it didn't have any effect. I mean, the breathing techniques were okay, but they didn't really relax me, and certainly the other techniques didn't have any real effect positively on me.
Okay, okay. So yeah, you'd been through quite a long journey with all of that, and it really wasn't working for you.
No.
What were your thoughts about moving forward to do some private anxiety therapy?
Well, I thought of it was the only way forward I could think of, really. I mean, there was no other options, and I was still quite hesitant to begin with, but at the same time very open to it. And so I sort of looked for ones that were in the northeast, and I found yourself, and there was maybe two or three others. But when I looked at the website, the thing that I got was you were a lot more. How can I put this? Open, in terms of there was a lot of like stuff you were prepared to give like a free consultation. There was like the videos like what we're doing now. There was some very detailed testimonials about your services, which I think the others didn't have. Even just the fact as well, it wasn't a huge thing, but even just the fact that you used a number of different locations, some of which were very close to me. So that's why I thought, yes, I'd like to. This looks like someone I'm prepared to sort of at least have a conversation with and see how we go.
Good, good. Thanks for that. So what was the experience like of working with me and getting this anxiety issue under control? How did you find all of that?
Well, after the first initial contact and you told me about it, it was a big decision for me to go with you. You know, I've been out of work for a bit, money was tight, so I knew it was going to be, it would be a financial outlay, and I decided to go with it. I like what you said, and when we started working, I realized how good it was, just the way you sort of immediately put me at ease. You explained everything, and even considering we'd like only spoke for 30 minutes after like the first session, it just sort of like second session was like, I'm just gonna have to meet a mate now to have but in like a very professional sort of helping thing. And even just like the first session, I came away and I was like, this is just, yeah, I can take these. And I used them, and I saw almost instant results, which I know a lot of people who are watching this might be like, that's what they all say. But I personally found like just the way of stopping myself from reacting instantly to the negative thoughts that were creeping in, and just being able to work through them logically and just sort of pushing them away, just seemed to help me. And then as the weeks progressed, and the different techniques you gave for different situations, I certainly I felt myself getting more and more relaxed. Obviously, I mean, I think a lot of it as well was to do with the fact we were looking at my the other situation, the candida, as well as the stress and anxiety, and I think the two together, because I could feel like there was a progression, and I could feel a benefit, and I can feel a reduction in the things that had bothered me for so long. It just sort of, everything just sort of snowballed in a positive way.
Yeah, good. So you went from being in quite a bad place to begin with. You enjoyed the sessions. Once we got through the 4 sessions, the main 4 sessions that we do for the anxiety treatment, how different did you feel?
I feel so different. I mean, I think it's fair to say, I mean, it's not like I'm, from a stress and anxiety, I certainly feel like better than I ever have. And obviously, just any time now, I mean, I still know that stress and anxiety will come at me, and it comes at me on a daily basis, several times a day. But I now don't let it fester, which I think is what was going on, and I don't overthink, and I don't let it sort of ruin my mentality, ruin my day. I use the various techniques depending on what the thoughts are or how they come to me, and I can get rid of them. And it's I think that's probably the big difference is from the NHS and yourself. The NHS was just like, to me, it was, they were saying, just don't think about them, you'll be fine. Whereas you have a way of saying, well, no, they're there, but this is how we deal with them. This is how we analyze them. And this is how we sort of push them away permanently. We're not sweeping it under the carpet, where we're acknowledging them, and we're sort of analyzing them, and then we're dispelling them. And it's had a profound difference on me. I think a lot of people who knew about it, and they could see, the close people who could see how it was affecting me, also now noticed that it's having your sessions have had a huge positive, and they're like, oh, you're like the old Ross. And I was like, well, actually, I think I'm better than the old Ross, because the old Ross was just like keeping it bottled up. So I might look like the old Ross to you, but I actually feel like a new version of me.
Yeah,
which is much better.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So many people, when they come to us, say, I just want to be normal, I want to be the old me. And unfortunately, we can't do that, because when you start to learn to handle the anxiety and eliminate it, you've become a totally different person. You've got the old you, but you've got all this extra experience. And this sort of leads on to the next question. It gives you the ability to move on and do new things with your life.
Yeah.
So now that you've gone through this and you've got that anxiety totally under control, what's this going to allow you to do in life? What are you looking forward to doing now?
getting out and living again. But I think it's also, I mean, my work, which I started prior to lockdown, was as a tennis coach, which of course was curtailed by lockdown, which was one of the snowballing effects of why I contacted you. But now that I'm me, I think it's going to have a positive effect not only in me in general, but I think it'll come out in my coaching as well. I mean, I was very positive when I coach, but even now, like I also dabble in basketball coaching as well, and we've been able to do some. And I just find like I'm still the positive person I was to other people, but now I'm using sort of certain techniques that you've taught me, just like the certain phrasings, stuff like that. And I feel like it's adding an extra layer of positivity, and it's like it's positive reinforcement when I'm coaching. So I feel like it's come from my personal to my professional sort of life as well. But also just looking forward to doing things now that I couldn't do before or weren't doing before, like maybe going out more often. See, I mean, you can't tell from this, but I use a wheelchair, so sometimes I used to be quite anxious in crowds just because everyone towers above me. But now I'm thinking, yeah, I'm quite looking forward to going out. Quite
good. Excellent. Yeah, you've come a long way. You really have it. This is my favorite part of the job, is that to see people sort of ring us up and feel a bit nervous and not sure if this is going to work, to then really doing well with the techniques and getting such a big change. That's so rewarding for me, but I'm so happy for people because I know what it's like. I've been through it myself, so it's a good thing to do. So with that in mind, I know when you first rang us up, you weren't sure. You took some time to think about it, which is a great way to do it. What would you say to people in the same situation who are thinking, well, maybe I need to resolve this anxiety, but I'm not sure if it's going to work?
I mean, I was always honest with you, and you were always honest with me, which I think was a huge thing. You know, the money itself is certainly for someone like myself who doesn't have a lot of disposable income was a sort of a huge factor in it. And I did take time just to consult with my mum, because that I do with everything, and she was kind enough to offer me a bit of financial support because she saw the state I was in. But I don't regret a single penny that it cost, because of just how much it's done for me. I mean, if you're in if the people who are watching this are in any kind of real negative state, if they were to the point of like they just every day they feel like they're going to break down, or they just feel like, oh, I almost don't want to do something because I know something negative is going to happen. If it's impacting your life and it's to that degree, just ring Mark for the free consultation and talk to him and let him explain in person, because he can do it much better than me, how he can help you. And just look at the other testimonials and other videos on here, because I wish I could prove to you that I'm a real person. I am a real person. I promise you, I'm not being paid to do this. And now that I read the testimonials again, I think, yeah, and it's just I'm as certain as I can be that you'll not regret it.
Good. Okay. And we've enjoyed the journey. We've had some good laughs and explored lots of interesting topics and had a lot of fun. What's been the most important to you as we've gone through and worked through the program? What were the really important aspects for you?
Just I suppose from the techniques you go, to feel that they can be used in different ways at different times. Like there's different techniques for different situations, different times of the day. So there's like when anxiety creeps upon you when you least expect it, there's ways of dealing with it there and then. But there's ways of almost like, of course, I refer to it as sort of reviewing it on a night time if you want, or ways to calm yourself and almost like review things and just look at things not just in the now but in the past, things that might be causing that pent up frustration. Again, as well, just things you said there about having a laugh, and also just like, as I say, I consider you a friend now. He's probably the quickest friend I've made. But and it's just that, and it's even just weird things like discovering new things, like because of your work with me with my help with Candida, I've now discovered that, you know, I have to cut out certain things, but it's opened up. Before I'd be like, oh, I can't have sugar, I can't eat chocolate anymore like I used to. But no, now, because of I realized that's what's causing me problems, and also the fact that you're helping me with my mentality. It's like, well, actually, no, I can have this. Well, actually, I can do this. And so I've started with that with my mum. We've started baking. You know, we're making food more. We always used to, but we're really like going out of our way and we're trying new things. And it's almost like a sort of unique, sort of a beautiful sort of encapsulation of everything that you've done for me in the sessions.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that about food, because yes, as part of the program, we do a full food sensitivity test to see if anything's triggering the anxiety. And quite often people are a little bit nervous, aren't they? So, oh my God, I'm going to have to cut out sugar. I'm going to have to cut out this. But then when we look and we explore and we look at the alternatives, there's so many more foods out there that most people haven't tried before. What's the best food that you've found that you weren't eating before that you really enjoy?
It probably shows some a bit about my diet, but I mean, I've started to eat a lot more avocado, prawns, just I know it sounds really weird, but even just the chocolate that you can have now. I mean, trust me, actually, this might be a huge factor for people about it. You can get chocolate that doesn't have sugar in it, and it's not like diabetic chocolate. It's phenomenal, and it's flavored with coconut. With flavors, I mean, just ridiculous. The flavors, you won't believe it. I was a chocoholic. I just loved sugar, and that's probably what caused me to be where I was now. But the flavors that you get are just phenomenal now. I mean, I'm currently eating a bar which is made from coconut sugar, but it's flavored with blueberries and acai, and I have a tiny little segment every day. Whereas before, the bar would disappear, and the flavors from this natural chocolate is just to fill your mouth. And I'm still at the stage where I'm having to go, no, one square's enough. Don't go back to the old you. But I mean, it blows my mind. I mean, flavors will become more intense and more real. And yes, you'll have to hunt around a little bit more. And yes, shopping may take a bit longer because you've got to, depending on what you got an allergy to, an intolerance to, you may have to start looking at bags of, look at the ingredients on the back of bags and what have you. But once you get the hang of it, it'll open your mind and you'll feel better. Not just from the work that Mark does, but I generally feel so much better. I've had 4 basketball sessions since lockdown sort of was coming to an end. Two of which were pre-Mark, and 2 were post-Mark, and or during Mark. And with the diet you recommended, the fitness levels are ridiculous. I feel so much healthier. I feel much faster than I've ever had, and so that in itself is definitely worth speaking to Mark about as well.
Yeah, that is important. A lot of people think that sort of when you go for therapy help, it's just what's all going on in the mind, but actually the mind and the body are one. And as we improve one, the other improves as well. So it's good to see that. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, Ross. You've been really detailed, and that will really help lots of other people. So thanks for that. I've got to say, you've been one of my favorite clients recently. It's been a real blast. We've had loads of good conversations, and yes, definitely we've become friends now because we've just really got on so well. But we do this with all the clients. But thanks so much for that. Also, I just want to point out, you're an amazing guy because, yeah, you mentioned you're in a wheelchair, but you're out there doing basketball and tennis as a coach.
Yeah, coaching and able-bodied and disabled people. Just something I've always wanted to do. My tennis is predominantly with kids in wheelchairs going to their schools if they don't like to get out and about, and I teach them as best I can. But yeah, the basketball, it's a wonderful thing. You can have able-bodied and disabled people playing at the same time, and it's sort of, it's just what I like to do, and I also like to think because of this, I'm sort of promoting this work you've done as well, because I find that when I am coaching now, there's a lot more positive reinforcement going on.
That's it. Yeah, it's a good way to do it. You had a very positive attitude from when you came in. That's what I liked. And that I need to find a way to sort this. But then also to hear that you're doing things like that is fantastic, and it's brilliant. So thanks so much for that, Ross. Thanks again. That's good. So for anybody else who might be interested in booking a free call with me just to see if it will help you, there'll be a link below. By all means, click on that, fill in the details, and we'll have a good chat. Again, thanks to Ross for this today. That's been brilliant, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care.